Hey kiddos, I just wanted to say that I miss you and I miss reading to you and I miss seeing you every day. And so I thought I would start by videotaping some books that I will read to you. So the first one I don't even have on our board at school, and it's called Heat Wave. My big brother Hank used to tease me that girls couldn't be farmers, but he sure changed his tune the day the heat wave hit. I was feeding the chickens when I heard a loud roar. I looked out across the horizon and saw a big old clump of crinkled yellow air rolling across the sky. A flock of geese flew in one side and came out the other side, plucked, stuffed, and roasted. I hollered for Ma and Pa and Hank, but before they even got outside, the heat wave hit. The mercury blasted out of the porch thermometer like a rocket. Ma's flowers pulled themselves up by their roots and crawled under the porch looking for shade. By the time everybody ran outside, the heat wave had gotten snagged on the barn's weather vane. It was near harvest time, so we raced to the cornfield to save what we could. But by the time we got there, it was already too late. The corn had started popping. It looked like a blizzard had hit. One of our old hound dogs turned blue and froze when he saw it. I wrapped him in a blanket, and he thawed out okay. Then we heard a commotion in the pasture. We raced over. The cows were hopping around like rabbits. The ground had gotten too hot, so we herded them inside the barn. They all looked miserable, though. Pa figured their milk had gotten too hot, so we set to milking. As it turned out, the cows had jumped so much, they churned their milk into butter. It came out melted. We'd milk the last of the butter when I had an idea. We scrubbed a couple of shovels and the beds of the pickup trucks, and I sent Pa and Hank to the field to fill the pickups with popcorn. When they were done, they brought the trucks around, and we all pitched in and poured the butter over the popcorn. Then Hank and Ma drove the trucks to the drive-in movie down the road. In no time at all, they sold every last bit of that popcorn. Then they hurried home. We still had plenty of worries. We hurried to the field where we had the oats planted. Sure enough, they had all dried out. I tried wetting them down, but that didn't turn out to be such a good idea. Soon I felt something slimy and thick rising up around my ankles. In another minute, it was waist high, and I could barely move. Turned out, I'd created a whole field of oatmeal. It was lumpy, just like Ma's, and I about drowned in the stuff. I dog paddled to the edge and I crawled out. Woo-wee! That oatmeal was sticky. I told Pa we should bottle it, which we did later, and it actually made a fine glue. It was then that I caught a whiff of something burning. I followed my nose to the barn and I hurried inside. The cows were steaming and their coats were starting to singe. Those poor critters were about to cook. We hosed them down and turned fans on them. It helped, but not enough. Pa always said I was the quickest thinker in the family, and I knew it was up to me to think of something else. I figured it was time to take on the heat wave. I thought blowing air on it would help, but we needed the fans for the cows. Besides, we didn't have near enough fans to cool the heat wave down. Then I had another idea. A huge flock of crows all beating their wings at once might work. One thing Kansas has, plenty of crows, and I knew how to get them to come. We dumped several 50-pound bags of flour and a bunch of yeast in the trough by the barn. Then we stirred in water with shovels. That dough rose so fast we had to run for our lives. It rolled over several chickens, then picked up the tractor and Sally the mule. Ended up big as the barn. A few minutes later, the dough started baking in the heat. It actually smelled awful good, and that's what I was counting on. Crows can't resist the smell of baking bread, and soon every crow in Kansas came flocking to the farm. Their wings made so much wind we had to tie ourselves around a giant tree trunk to keep from being blown away. It felt cooler already. The trouble was, those crows didn't keep flying. They lit on the bread and they started eating. The temperature shot right back up, and I figured we might be licked. The crows pecked at the bread until they freed Sally and the chickens. None of them were a bit worse for wear. In fact, they were right frisky. I figured all that yeast had caused their spirits to rise. Seeing Sally gave me one more idea. I told Pa to hitch her to the plow, and she plowed up a section of land in record time. While Pa was plowing, I found what I needed. I gave everyone lettuce seeds, and we started planting. Those seeds sprouted as soon as they hit the dirt. The bigger the lettuce grew, the cooler the air got. The heat wave put up a fight, all right. It rippled and twisted and squirmed like a bucking bronco. But as the lettuce cooled the air more, the heat wave started shrinking, until finally it disappeared altogether. The weather vane and the barn cooled down, and the cows stopped steaming too. They didn't seem that much affected, except the fuzz on their hides never grew back. Ma had to knit them all sweaters for the winter. So that's how I saved the farm, by planting lettuce. In case you're wondering how lettuce could cool the air, it wasn't just any kind of lettuce, you see. It was iceberg lettuce. I did make one mistake, though. I miscalculated the amount of lettuce I needed, and I did plant too much. Kansas had an awful early snowfall that year, but none of us ever let on why. The end. That one was called Heat Wave. I will continue to read more, and I miss you all lots. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you are reading, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.